It all started with a dream. In October of 21, Bill Wilson told Kathy he had this dream that we had frescoes here at Rumpel. And less than 4 months later, Kathy gets a call out of the blue that there are frescoes outside of Charleston, South Carolina that need a new home. And after a lot of logistical and prayerful conversations, our church took a huge leap of faith and said, let's do this. And in the fall of this year, those frescoes are going to be installed, and a brand new ministry is going to be born here at Rumpel.
It's important to the life and ministry of Rumpel because it will allow us to have a mission program on a brand new platform, a Fresco platform, and give us an opportunity to reach people in a different manner. You know, the core message of the 23rd Psalm upon which the frescoes are based is, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And that is the core message, and so that will allow us to extend that message as part of our mission program.
I think this particular project, to me, was a directive to the Great Commission. All we've got to do is open the door, and the people are here. We've got the community, we've got the states, and we've got the world. We open the door, and they come in.
I'm excited and grateful to be part of a church that has the resources and interests to support high quality, fine art like this. In a church where that can be engaged visually, imaginatively, and spiritually is a great opportunity. I'm so glad that we've taken advantage of it.
The frescoes were located in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, at a hospice center. And once they were discovered, it was determined that they would be willing to sell them. And so we began negotiations and were successful, and then hired a moving company and a fabricator company to go down to Mount Pleasant and detach the frescoes from the wall. They were mounted on the wall with steel rods and had to be cut with acetylene torch in order to remove them. So we got that done, and they are now in Charlotte in a storage center.
The way this entire thing has transpired, in my mind, has been nothing short of divine order. But there's still a lot of work that's going to need to be done, and in the months ahead, our congregation is going to hear about ways that they can get involved and how they can help. And I sincerely hope that when you're asked, that you will decide to participate. I think this ministry is going to be a gift to our community, and I think it's going to be a blessing to those who get to serve in it.
When we learned about the frescoes and determined what it might cost to purchase them, we went to the congregation and presented the idea and immediately had great response. We figured initially we would have to raise at least $250,000 because the frescoes would be $200,000. And to date, we've raised about $246,000 to $250,000. I think by the time this is all over, we will be looking at a total cost of right at $300,000, which would include the cost of the frescoes, the removal of the frescoes, the storage in Charlotte for a year, insurance, and as you can imagine, insurance was a big piece of this, and it's going to cost us right at $20,000 to move them from Charlotte to Rumpel, have them mounted, and then at that point we'll want to prepare some material, because once people start coming, we have to be able to present them something and show them something. And so there'll be some cost associated with that. So I think by the time the final whistle blows, we'll be looking right at $300,000.
I have a class that I teach to Appalachian State students on religion and visual art, and every time I teach it, I always mention the frescoes in the area. And so I'm glad to be able to tell students at App State that in Watauga County now, there will be these two beautiful frescoes, and that they can come visit them just a handful of miles away from campus.
I just think it's going to have a huge impact on our community. I don't think our church even has a clue how much this is actually going to put Rumpel on the map. It's going to draw people in from our community, but I think it is going to give us new pathways to serve. I know Norma Sudreth is an artist, and there are other artists in our church, and I believe there's a lot of enthusiasm about creating an art ministry with the Fresco sort of as a launching pad?
There's so many things that we can do to share the gospel, to share scriptures. We can have workshops. We can have other exhibitions. We can have literature there that's for people to see. Maybe little leaflets or a picture for a child to color, a coloring book. So there are just so many things that we can do, that we can honor and do what God has told us to do.
The Frescos will expand our ministry because we will become a part of the High Country Fresco Trail. There are frescoes in Ashe County, there are frescoes at several other high country locations, and there are thousands, literally thousands of people who come here by the busload to visit the frescoes, and we will become a part of that process. And the fact that these frescoes were sort of hidden in Mount Pleasant for 15 years means that they haven't really been seen by a lot of people. So there's going to be excitement once it's announced that there is a new to the community and new to us, Ben Long Fresco at Rumpel Memorial Presbyterian Church. So we will become part of that Fresco Trail.
So often when we encounter fine art like this, I think it's in a museum, and that can be very moving for people. But I think having works like this in a church brings new opportunities for engaging people spiritually before a work like this.
The other churches on the Fresco Trail tell us that they get a surprising amount of donations every year from visitors to the frescoes. And I think we're really excited about how these resources can be used by our missions committee to carry out God's plan here in our community. And missions is one of the 4 cornerstones of our church. So we're really excited about that.
One that comes immediately to our mind is Grandfather Home for Children, Bering Springs, which is now Children's Hope Alliance. There was a young woman that was just distracted. She didn't want anything to do with us. And she was lying on the floor and kind of pouty. And she began to listen to the stories I was telling about the art and the person who created the art. And I went by her. She had started drawing, and I was very impressed with it, and I mentioned it. And she asked if she could write a letter to the artist. And I heard later that after that particular art day, she said, it's time for me to change my life. So she was healed because of art ministry.
But what I hope it will do is not only bring us and others into this church space to be reminded about God as the good shepherd and Jesus as living out what that looks like in his life and ministry and teachings, but also then to send us and others out from this space into the world to be God's sheep and to bring others into the fold and push ourselves beyond the pasture.